Hi, everyone. Welcome to this virtual event. Please let me know if you can hear me in the chat. Show me some love so we can begin. See you guys. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Gonna give it maybe another minute so people can be notified, and then we will jump right into this. And I won't keep you guys long. Just want to make sure that those of you who are in our nation understand your credentials, and possibly those who are going to be pursuing this, that you guys have clarity on what to expect when it comes to your IDs and how to use them. Show me some love, guys. Let me know how the sound is coming in right now. How's the sound? Awesome. Okay, let us begin. So hi guys, my name is Nikina Xi-Amaru Fears, and I'm going to be covering tribal credentials and driver's license in regards to the Xi-Amaru Republic. And again, my name is Nikina Xi-Amaru Fears. I am the Chief of the Xi-Amaru Republic and the CEO of Aboriginal Ministry of Justice. And I will be your host, and we are hosting from Aboriginal Ministry of Justice, which is our primary source for all things Xi-Amaru Republic. Just to give you a quick introduction to who we are the original pyramid builders of the America. When it comes to our people, we lost our culture and heritage due to colonization and denationalization. And now we utilize our rights as Indigenous people to repair the damages that has happened to us and our people within the lands. And the best way to put it when it comes to my people specifically and who we are, Isaiah 58:12 says it best. It says, "Your people will rebuild the ancient ruins and will raise up the age-old foundation. You will be called repairs of broken walls, restorer of streets with dwelling." Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Fields. I see you in the chat. Thank you for that confirmation. Shout out to the Fields family. Okay, let us begin, guys. So the purpose of this presentation today is to explain all types of Xi-Amaru tribal credentials, member ID, driver's license, tax-exempt, limited IDs. We will also be going over the fee, not the fee specifically, but you can learn more about that on our website. And I just want to make sure that you understand how to properly use those and the legal protection that comes with those. So clarity, legal foundation, rights, guide, proper use and responsibility, explain, like I said, application and renewal process, and how your credentials impact you when it comes to interacting with our jurisdiction. That being said, let us begin. When it comes to our vision is to build a resilient and autonomous Xi-Amaru nation rooted in God, knowledge, and guided by principles of justice, unity, and respect. We envision a future where our people are fully recognized, self-sustaining, and able to exercise their rights on an equal footing within the global community. The Xi-Amaru Republic seeks to serve as a model of Indigenous governance, setting the precedent for cultural integrity, sustainable development, and harmonious coexistence. Our mission is to empower and protect the rights, heritage, and well-being of the Xi-Amaru people. We are committed to promoting self-determination, cultural preservation, and social and economic prosperity through sustainable governance, legal autonomy, and community-centered initiatives. We aim to create a thriving environment where our citizens can flourish and contribute positively to society. For clarity, guys, I think it's important to understand what is the role that Aboriginal Ministry of Justice plays when it comes to to our Indigenous government. And to make it simple, it is the central authority for issuing credentials, maintaining legal records, and ensuring proper verification. And just to summarize our history, keep in mind we declared our independence i- back in 2022, if I'm not mistaken. And then we signed our constitution in 2024. And now we are continuing the mission of restoration of our Indigenous identity and protecting our autonomy and development of a strong nation state. When it comes to the legal foundation of our nation is a recognized nation, not federally recognized, but it is a recognized nation due to these declaration and also the Indian Citizenship Act. Just to give you clarity, and again, I do recommend that you guys go over these just so that you have clarity on what it means when it comes to your rights as an Indigenous person and when it comes to interacting with your nation, understanding what is lawful, what is not lawful, things of that nature. But I'm going to cover key fundamental rights that give us the ability to exercise, the ability to issue identifications to our people and giving them the ability to operate in society in a way that's effective. And they cover self-determination, autonomy, recognition of Indigenous law. And I'm going to pull up the articles and I'm going to go over those real quick with you guys, just so that you have context to why these rights are so important, specifically when it comes to our jurisdiction and how we use them to protect our people. We will be starting with Article 1 when it comes to ADRIP, which stands for the American Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. Article 1 states, the American Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples apply to the indigenous people of the Americas. Number 2, self-identification as Indigenous people will be fundamental criterion for determining to whom this declaration applies. States shall respect the right to such self-identification as Indigenous, whether individually or collectively, in keeping with the practice and institutions of each Indigenous people. For us specifically, we do it collectively. That is what the Xi-Amaru Republic offers to our people, is we exercise this right as a collective. And then we have Article 3, which says Indigenous people have the right to self-determination. By virtue of that right, they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural development, which is the powerful thing when it comes to us being able to issue things like tax-exempt identification, things of that nature, so that we can repair the damage and grow our nation and grow our people, well, giving our people the ability to lawfully be able to advance within a society where they're kind of playing catch up compared to other groups due to the injustice that happened in the past. And then going into Article 6, which is collective rights, states Indigenous peoples have collective rights that are indispensable for their existence, well-being, and integral development as peoples. In that regard, states recognize and respect the right of Indigenous peoples to their collective action, to their juridical, social, political, and economic systems or institutions, to their own cultures, to profess and practice their spiritual beliefs, to use their own tongues and languages, and to their lands, territories, and resources. State shall promote with the full and effective participation of Indigenous people, the harmonious coexistence of the rights and systems of different population groups and culture. Keep in mind, guys, when we're talking about collective rights, we are referring to our governing body, which gives us the ability to lawfully have a collective identity, even though our nation is made up of people who are descendant from many different tribal backgrounds. We have one thing in common, which is we went through denationalization and it happened within the Americas. So when someone comes into our jurisdiction, that is how we are able to pursue citizenship or tribal citizenship within our jurisdiction, is confirming that that individual or that family is pursuing to exercise their collective right as a group with our jurisdiction. Now, getting into, let me see here, 21. Again, that's ADRIP Article 21, and it states the following. Right to autonomy. And keep in mind, guys, you can drop your comments in the chat, and we will, if we have some time, we will touch on those later for you. But if there's any questions that you have, feel free to leave those below. So again, 21, which is right to autonomy or self-government. Indigenous peoples, in exercising their right to self-determination, have the right to autonomy or self-government in matters relating to their internal and local affairs, as well as ways and means for financing their autonomous functions. Which is powerful whenever we are talking about tax exemptions. These are the rights that we're using to give our people the lawful backing to be able to repair the damage, like we stated before. So if you've been confused about how tax exemption is possible within our jurisdiction, again, go over Article 21 in ADRIP so that you have clarity. You know, we are here to provide you information, but this information is public, and you should be able to also understand how things are possible for you when it comes to joining our jurisdiction. Getting back into it, number 2 for Article 21 states, Indigenous peoples have the right to maintain and develop their own decision-making institutions. They also have the right to participate in decision-making in matters which would affect their rights. They may do so directly or through their representatives and in accordance with their own norms, procedures, and traditions. They also have the right to equal opportunities in accessing and participating fully and effectively as people in all national institutions and forums, including deliberative bodies. Powerful, powerful, powerful when you really understand the ability that we have now to really protect ourselves as a group lawfully within the lands. However, understanding that it is us who are supposed to put the institutions to keep ourselves protected. You know, these rights are here. However, what I love about our nation is people like you and I come together and make this not just words, but make it a reality. That's what we do here within the Xi-Amaru Republic. And getting into 20, let me see here real quick, 22, which is Indigenous law and jurisdiction. And we're going to be doing an upcoming session with some of these articles. So make sure you guys are subscribed and follow our pages so that you are notified whenever we are public, whenever we're doing a live event or things of that nature. Okay, so getting back into it, Article 22, which is Indigenous law and jurisdiction. Number 1, Indigenous people have the right to promote, develop, and maintain their institutional structures and their distinctive customs, spirituality, traditions, procedures, practices, and in the cases where they exist, juridical systems or customs in accordance with international human rights standard. That is why our nation has the governing body to be able to participate and exercise the right to collectively protect our people within specifically the territory that we dwell in, which is the country known as the United States of America. However, we call the Americas a Mexum, but that is why we are our government is lawful standing when it comes to being able to legally have a foundation to advocate for our people. Okay. Number 2, Indigenous law and legal systems shall be recognized and respected by national, regional, and international legal systems. So this goes above anyone who is trying to discredit our nation or thinking that we are unlawfully operating or anything that someone may want to present to us or discredit us. We understand that we are above, I should say, those criticism, those critiques, because we do understand that this took place back in 2016. So many people are not even lawfully familiar because they've heard of a thing such as federal recognition. So they assume that that's the only way Indigenous people can lawfully operate. But the beautiful thing about the American Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People is we understand that we are so past that time, and we are here bringing new life to our people and bringing awareness to their rights. So keep educating yourself, guys. But getting back into it, Article 22, number 3, it covers matters concerning Indigenous individuals or their rights or interests in the jurisdiction of each state shall be conducted in such a way as to afford Indigenous individuals the right to full representation with dignity and equality before the law. Consequently, they are entitled, without discrimination, to equal protection and benefit of the law, including the use of linguistic and cultural representative interpreters. And number 4, states shall take effective measures in conjunction with Indigenous people to ensure the implementation of this article. So this is how our team is able to lawfully interact with other jurisdictions when it comes to matters relating to Xi-Amaru Native Americans. Okay, just to make it simple. And then I'm going to cover 2 more, and it is 31. It says, state shall ensure the full, and keep in mind, guys, when it says states, this is referring to the countries that we know within the Americas who are a part of the AAS. So keep that in mind when you're hearing the term or the word states, that it's referring to all the countries who are a part of the a part of this body, right? Who pretty much came together and made this declaration possible for Indigenous people who went through denationalization within the Americas. So getting back into it, it says, number 1, state shall ensure the full enjoyment of civil, political, economic, social, and cultural rights by Indigenous peoples, their right to maintain their cultural and spiritual identity, religious traditions, cosmovisions, and values, the protection of their sacred sites and places of worship, and all the human rights contained in this declaration. Number 2, states shall promote, with the full and effective participation of Indigenous peoples, the adoption of such legislation and other measures as may be necessary to give effect to the right recognized in this declaration. So what does this mean is that states are supposed to work with us, or meaning the countries that we dwell in or the regions that we're in when it comes to dealing with other jurisdiction, that we have the right to interact with them, and having the ability for them to learn us and come into an understanding of how they're supposed to be interacting with us, right? So that's a powerful thing about that. And then finally, guys, when it comes to Article 30, what is that? I think that's Article 39. I mean, yeah, I think that's 39. Give me one moment. Let me get there real quick. It says the nature and scope of the measures that shall be adopted to implement this declaration shall be determined in accordance with the spirit and purpose of said declaration. Okay? Long story short, Indigenous people have the right to be able to advocate for themselves. So these are just some of the articles that really create a legal foundations for our nation when it comes to self-determination, autonomy, and recognition of Indigenous law. And then you have ADRIP as well, which covers non-discrimination, rights to participate fully in social, economic life, and free prior informed consent that must be granted. I do recommend that you guys take a picture of this, and that way you guys can look over those when you have the chance, but very powerful. And then we have the another legal foundation, which is the Indian Citizenship Act of 1924, which basically established dual status, allowing those who are Xi-Amaru Native American citizens to operate under tribal jurisdiction, which gives us the lawful ability to participate in self-governance while still gaining access to the other jurisdiction. However, not limiting our ability to have a say when it comes to how we operate within society. So it's very powerful when it comes to our people being able to protect ourselves while still being able to contribute positively to the other jurisdictions that we are a part of. So no, guys, it doesn't mean that when you go through our process that you're separating from the other jurisdiction. You're just lawfully adjusting how you've been contracting for a long time. Okay, so that's what our jurisdiction is for. You do not become an island just because you join our nation, because again, we understand that our people have, access, and they need access because our nation is currently being established. So it would be a disservice for us to try to advocate for our people to just pull themselves out of something versus understanding that they have needs. Some of our people are, you know, are veterans or retired or so many different things that play a part in our people. So we have to lawfully understand measures that should be taken to protect those things, right? So yeah, so that's powerful as well, and I do recommend that you guys look that up a little bit so you can understand what that means. But it's really just to make it simple. The Snyder Act is the ability for people who have been misclassified to be a part of a jurisdiction where they can have lawful standing within the other jurisdiction while still participating in self-governance. The reason our process exists when it comes to our tribal screening and our citizenship procedure is because when someone has not gone through that process, they have a misclassified status that we call it a misclassified status, which is basically simply a limitation to be able to participate in self-governance. So for someone to be able to do what we do, which is participate in autonomy, they would have to be a part of our jurisdiction lawfully. So that's why that process exists, guys. And getting into the fun part, what are tribal credentials? So, to keep it simple, guys, when it comes to our jurisdiction, tribal credentials are official Xi-Amaru Republic IDs that prove your citizenship, identity, and rights. They include member ID, which are for citizenship. That is an ID that is included in the citizenship procedure. Once everything is complete, you will also get those IDs issued. Then you have your tribal driver's license, which is an ID that you do have to request separate if you are someone who currently operates a vehicle, then you can request that. And tax-exempt ID, that is something that is also issued to adults who are in our jurisdiction when they start the citizenship procedure. And limited IDs are also available. So to make it simple, guys, government issued IDs with bio biographical data, which you can use for voting when those things come up within our jurisdiction, legal verification, travel, and asserting your autonomy. And it is recognized by state, federal agencies promoting understanding of tribal nationhood. Okay. They protect to make it just to add a little more when it comes to tribal credentials, they protect your national authority. It connects you to services to our nation and ensures your status is recognized in tribal, state, and federal systems. Types of tribal credentials. Before I get into that, guys, just confirm you can hear me because I know sometimes I get a little choppy over here, but how's everything on your end so far? Everything coming in good? Show me some love, y'all. Okay, okay. Okay. Awesome. Let me see. Okay. So types of credentials. So we have member ID, which is proof of citizenship or tribal citizenship within the Xi-Amaru Republic. It is an ID that is valid for 3 years, and it's available for adult and children, and it comes during it's an ID that you will receive when you go through the citizenship procedure. Okay, so you do not have to request this on our website unless your ID was stolen. So what I mean by you don't have to request this is you only have to request a member ID if you started the process and time has passed and maybe your ID got lost or stolen, then you would need to request one. But if you're starting the citizenship procedure, there's no need for you to order a order a separate put in a separate order for a tribal member ID. Okay. Limited member ID. It's a validity for nationals and citizens in name change process. What does this mean, guys? This is an ID that's available for anyone who's completed the citizenship procedure. Not well, yeah, someone who completed the citizenship procedure and they did a name change, but they have to still get it updated with their county and but they want to go ahead and start to apply for their benefits within maybe their job or something of that nature, but they have their previous name on maybe their social or things of that nature. So then you can request a limited member ID for that. When it comes, well, a limited ID, which is also a not this one, but it's a form of identification that you can use while you're in the name change process to show your status within the Xi-Amaru Republic. And then it is also available for someone who is only a national, meaning that they completed the tribal screening, but they haven't taken this step to have they just want to be able to show that they have a relationship with the nation. But keep in mind, having a limited member ID does not signify exactly that you are a citizen. It just means that you have, because again, once you completed your tribal screening, you have 14 months for you to be able to get your citizenship started and getting that completed. During that time you are able to show your tribal affiliation if you needed to or if you wanted to. and also serves as a form of identification, guys. And you can learn more about this by going to aboriginalministryofjustice.org, and you can learn about our tribal credentials. When it comes to the tax-exempt ID, it's available for sale tax, wage tax exemption. And what does this mean? It means that, and again, this is an identification that is included in the citizenship procedure, which you will use to notify your employer. If you are currently employed, you will give a copy of this identification to your employer with your form NAE, and that's a form that you can request from our team. So simply email info@aboriginalministryofjustice.org or verify at aboriginalministryofjustice.org to request a form that you need to submit to your employer to opt opt into tax exemptions when it comes to your job. And keep in mind, guys, we do include instructions when you complete the citizenship procedure that you can receive on how to go ahead and apply for your tax exemptions. Nevertheless, our team is available to you Monday through Friday, so you can always reach out if you have any questions about how to implement your tax exemptions or things of that nature when it comes to your job. When it comes to your tax exempt ID, using it for sale purposes, you can go in. Now, keep in mind, you are responsible to get familiar with your area because currently we do not have the funds to do a nationwide study, but every tribal member is responsible to pretty much have a simple conversation when it comes to the area that you're in. So how you would do that is simply go up to the cashier and ask, "Hey, I'm a Native American. I have my tax exempt ID. Do you guys respect tax exemption here?" And then they will go ahead and review your identification. You can let them know that it's there. Now, keep in mind, some organizations only accept it when it comes to business tax exemption. So it does vary it vary per agency and it vary per location. So keep that in mind as you go. But if you have further questions or you have questions about that, our team would love to speak with you. You can always set up a free appointment Monday through Friday by just going to our website and doing that. And we would love to talk to you and make sure that you have clarity when it comes to exercising your rights. And this identification, guys, is valid for 3 years. However, you must be a Xi-Amaru Native American to have a tax exempt ID from our jurisdiction. Keep in mind, guys, there's been people who are no longer a part of our nation. If you are no longer a part of our nation and we ever discover that you are using your tribal credentials from our nation to try to claim exempt status, keep in mind your ID expires within 3 years. And what's going to happen is the IRS is going to deal with you just as if you were not in our jurisdiction. So we wouldn't recommend you doing that because after that 3 years, even if you feel like you're getting away with it, it's actually going to lead you in a bad situation. So we just would advise you to not use your tax exempt ID card because if it ever comes back that we need to confirm an identity of someone and they're no longer a part of our jurisdiction, then you would be looked at as someone who's committing fraud, and we wouldn't want that for you. So we recommend that you get rid of your IDs if you're no longer a part of our jurisdiction instead of using our credentials. Nevertheless, that's important. And we also have, oh, that's not correct. It's not. So it's not for 3 years when it comes to the limited tax exempt ID. It's only valid for 1 year. And because when it comes to limited IDs, they're only valid for 1 year, guys. Forgive us here when it comes to this. This is an error here, but it's only valid for 1 year. And it does the same thing when it comes to you being able to exercise this. Now, like we were mentioning earlier, let's say you're someone who went through the process, you decided to change your name while you started when you went through your citizenship procedure, and your name currently, let's just say on your job, is your previous name or your given name, and you want to still go ahead and opt into getting your exemptions, you can request it with your regular tax exempt ID and notify your employer that that is something you are updating within the other jurisdiction. You want to go ahead and get that process started. But let's say your employer says no, it has to match, then we do recommend that you get a limited tax exempt ID for that season. And it is a little more affordable, guys. So you can always get that ID for the moment being while you're going through an update with your name, if that is your situation. And again, you can set up an appointment and reach out to us, and we would love to talk to you about that. And this is, again, for citizen finalizing name change who need tax exempt status update. Okay. And tribal driver's license. Keep in mind, this is not an identification that is included with your citizenship procedure because we don't know if you can drive or not. And that is just not something we issue. So if you're someone who wants to have a tribal driver's license, you can request that. And that is a separate service that you would need to submit. And it pretty much gives you legal authority to operate a vehicle under the Xi-Amaru jurisdiction. And it is valid for 3 years, and it also serves as an ID. Keep in mind, our tribal driver's license is the most effective one when it comes to identification purposes within the other jurisdiction. Even though you can use your member ID, they do prefer tribal driver's license. So it's just something to consider if you are a tribal member and maybe you don't have a tribal driver's license. And keep in mind, you don't necessarily have to give up your state driver's license when you request your tribal driver's license. You can have both. But if you have questions about that, you can always reach out to our team, and we would love to give you a rundown on um, what this would entail if you do decide to get one or not. Some people decide to simply have their tribal driver's license and that's how they move. Some people opt into having both. Keep in mind, our people have dual status, so they can do that. It really just comes down to each individual. Like I always say, we're not here to tell you what is right and what is wrong. We simply are here to let you know what your options are, and then you can decide what best suits you and your family. Okay. No, I see someone says, so each license needs to be updated per year. No, it's 3 years. The limited IDs are only available for 1 year, so those do need to be updated. However, technically, a limited ID should only be necessary within the first year of your tribal citizenship. If you are someone because again, it's in the case that you need to have your previous name on there and you want to make sure that the other jurisdiction is understanding that you are in a name change process, so you're still responsible to go ahead. If you request a name change, keep in mind we do not operate in multiple identities. That's not something that we advocate for in our jurisdiction. And I know that that's something that there's a lot of misinformation out there within society about operating as private, public, whatever the case may be. That's not something that we subscribe to. So you do want your name to reflect on everything. So if you do opt in to get a name change, then technically you would get a limited ID. If you want to wait, then you can just keep your regular member ID, but your member ID and your tax exempt ID has to reflect the name that we have on file for you. So if you opt in to change your name, then the only name that can be on your member ID and your tax exempt ID would be the name that you change your name to. Now, when it comes to your limited member ID and your limited tax exempt ID, and keep in mind, tax exempt IDs are only available for tribal members who are Xi-Amaru Native Americans, meaning they're official citizens. Tax-exempt ID is not available for anyone who does not have an official status within our jurisdiction. So you do have to be in our nation and you're going through the name change in the other jurisdiction, but you don't have it yet, then you can request that. Keep in mind, guys, If you have further questions, you can always reach out to our team, but that's pretty much how that works. And when it comes to your driver's license also has to reflect the name that we have in our jurisdiction. So you cannot, and you must also be a Xi-Amaru Native American. We do not issue driver's license to people who are not officially a part of our nation, and we do not issue tribal driver's license in multiple names. So whatever name that we have officially, since you went through the process of becoming a Xi-Amaru citizen, that will be the name that's on your tribal driver's license. In the case that you do change your name and you realize that's not a name that you want or you don't want to pursue that any longer, then you can request to get it changed back. However, there is additional fee for that. Proper use and responsibilities. Okay. Number one, tribal member ID. You have to use it for legal verification. You can use it for grants. You can use it for travel. Not necessarily for, you cannot use a tribal member ID in place of a tribal driver's license. So don't assume that. You do need a tribal driver's license because if you're trying to use your tribal member ID, you could get in trouble for that because your tribal member ID does not verify. Keep in mind, guys, driver's license are about confirming whether or not the person who is operating the vehicle has lawful knowledge in regards to operating. So that's why your tribal driver's license exists. Now, but again, tribal member IDs can be a form of identification, which is great, and it can show your status when it comes to your connection to the Xi-Amaru Republic. When it comes to your tax-exempt ID, you can use it, you can present it before purchase, you can follow vendors' rules, you can provide verification form, NAE for income tax exemption. So that's a good reference when it comes to you being able to exercise your right to being able to repair the damage that has impacted your economic development. And then your tribal driver's license. You can carry it. You still have to obey traffic laws, guys. I do want to mention that it's not a shield for reckless driving. It doesn't mean that you can run a red light. It doesn't mean that you can, just because you have a tribal driver's license, that now it's like you don't have to listen to anyone. That's not what it's for. You're still supposed to be responsible within society, making sure that you're not doing anything to cause harm to anyone or yourself. So, yes, you can present it to an officer, and that we don't currently have. We do want to incorporate very soon having a 24/7 hotline. However, that's not something that we have yet, but that will be something we will be talking about in upcoming tribal meetings. And again, guys, tribal meetings are private, so if you are a Xi-Amaru Native American or a Xi-Amaru Native, make sure you reach out to us and ask to be a part of the list, because there is a private list which will notify you when we have tribal meetings, specifically the login and things of that nature. So make sure to email us at info@aboriginalministryofjustice.org just to make sure that you're on the list. If you didn't attend the last tribal meeting and you never saw the email for that, then it is a good chance that you're not on the list. So just keep that in mind, guys. We don't currently have a schedule, but schedule will be coming up soon, and we will post those things publicly on social media. However, the login will be private. Nevertheless, guys, that's pretty much how that works. And when it comes to renewal and processing, so you can renew your identifications up to 90 days before expiration. Expiration date stays the same for reissue cards. So what it means by that expiration, that's in the case of if your IDs were stolen or lost and you haven't met the time frame yet for the 90 days, then your expiration date stays the same for reissue cards. I hope that makes sense. And then standard processing, typically up to 60 days after verification. So once you start the process, we will send you over your application, and this is something that can be done virtually. And what we would do then is we will go ahead and ask you to complete your application within 1 to 4 business days after we receive your fee, the payment that you made. Then we will reach out and give you a form that you need to fill out, or an application. And once we review that, make sure that we have everything that we need, then we will let you know the estimated time frame for you to get that complete. However, expedited options are available, and you can learn more again at aboriginalministryofjustice.org. When it comes to security and verification, guys, keep your ID numbers private. Please, 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 please. We've seen many unfortunate situations. We've heard many unfortunate situations where people have been posting their identifications on social media. Guys, you don't have anything to prove. Please do not feel the need to post anything when it comes to your identity, whether it's a result from your tribal screening or it's your result, your IDs. That is not necessary. Okay. You don't have anything to prove to social media. We do understand that sometimes, these things can be exciting. However, the internet is very dangerous and there's very evil people out there. So keep these things private. We are working on our verification process when it comes to updating you guys and having other agencies be able to verify your information. And very soon we will have an official date for you guys to be able to process that information, which will be on aboriginalministryofjustice.org/verify. But as of now, you can simply reach out to us, and that's how a tribal member is verified. Specifically, when it comes to employment, employers are responsible to reach out to our verification department, and we notify them if someone is a tribal member of the Xi-Amaru Republic or not. If someone is a tribal member, and normally employers do that to confirm your tax-exempt status. So if they need help with that, then they can fax us or they can email us. Again, that's verify@aboriginalministryofjustice.org. And report, right? If your identification was stolen or compromised, please report it immediately. Even if you aren't able to get an appointment right away, make sure to email us the incident. That way we are aware of it. And again, like I said, we're working to implement some other protocols for you guys very soon. So just keep posted. Make sure you are subscribed to our newsletter. If you're not, make sure to go to aboriginalministryofjustice.org and scroll to the bottom and enter your name and email address, and that way you're subscribed to our newsletter. But yeah, keep your information safe, guys. Keep your information safe. Rights and protection, right? Discrimination against Xi-Amaru credentials is unlawful. What does that mean, guys? So the only time we step in is if someone is claiming, so let's use an example of this. Let's say, rights and protection, right? Xi-Amaru legal team supports citizens wrongfully penalized for lawful use. So what does this mean? Let's say you are pulled over and someone is assuming, you provided them with your tribal credentials and information, and they're saying, well, they can't use that or that it's not valid when it comes to your tribal driver's license. And for whatever reason, they decide to create maybe a ticket or something unlawful against you in regards to that specific thing. Now, not if let's say someone may have been driving intoxicated, that's not that's not the rights and protections that we're talking about, okay? We will not intervene in a situation like that where you may have been being careless or things of that nature. Again, it's only in the case where they're trying to put, an incident of claiming that you're possibly committing some form of fraud using your identification, things of that nature. That's when we can lawfully step in. But if you maybe, let's say, ran a red light or you did something, and we don't subscribe to all the noise, we are aware that there's a lot of people who claim, and again, I'm not here to say they're right or wrong, but we do not subscribe to being careless and then trying to get out. We are people of accountability. So you want to make sure that you're moving very wise when it comes to society, guys. As a as a person of Xi-Amaru lineage, you represent your nation. So keep that in mind when it comes to how you show up in this world. And how this builds our nation building impact. Each credential strengthens internal governance. It assists in population registry and economic independence. Data planning. Credentials help the Republic measure population growth, plan education, health resources, and protect citizens' right in external jurisdiction. Economic strength. Tax-exempt IDs help resources circulating within the nation, supporting infrastructures, potential schools, and different ventures that we will pursue, and jobs, guys. That's what this is all about. Citizens, preparedness, and best practice. Know your rights, guys. Please, please, please. I've covered a little bit when it came to the rights that are covered in ADRIP, but I do recommend that you guys go over those just in detail. You have to know what you have, because then you'll know what we can do and what we can't do for you. Carry your credentials, right? Make sure that you have your credentials on you when it comes to exercising your rights. That is important. Practice respectful advocacy. We're not here to be disrespectful, okay? If credentials are challenged, stay calm, request a supervisor, document interactions, and reach out to your nation. Annual checkup. Verify all your information. What do we mean by that, guys? If you moved, if you change your number, if you done anything, different, you should be reaching out to us so that we can update that information. That way we can always be able to contact you or connect with you if necessary. Okay. And promote awareness, educate others, right? Make sure that you're advocating for yourself, because every time you speak up, every time you exercise your right, you're actually making more space for the next Xi-Amaru Native American behind you. So don't just go through the process and hold your documents. It's your job now to advocate for yourself. And that way you are also helping others become aware of these rights that we have. There's no one coming, guys, to do this for us, okay? It is our job to bring awareness when it comes to who we are and how we operate, and helping people be able to address us properly. That being said, if you want to learn more, go to aboriginalministryofjustice.org. Again, when it comes to credentials, standard processing time is up to 60 business days. However, guys, keep in mind, if you started your citizenship procedure, you will have your member and tax-exempt ID included. The only time you should be ordering your credentials is in the case that they were damaged, stolen, or misplaced, or expiring, okay? Now, when it comes to your tribal driver's license specifically, that is something that you do need to order separate, even if you started your citizenship procedure. And keep in mind, guys, fees and time is subject to change without notice. So feel free to learn a little more about that. And I do advise, guys, to share this presentation with other citizens or to help grow awareness. Maybe you have family members who may be, curious about what's going on, what we've done, and what we do. We it is our job to make sure that everyone knows more and knows better and knows the options that they have today. A lot of times when it comes to this type of information, it's almost like everyone's talking in the past. However, when it comes to our nation, we are here to make new waves. And I want us to understand, this is this is bigger than us. This is bigger than what we are doing currently. This is to bring impact for generations where our people are able to lawfully be able to represent ourselves in a way that is wholeheartedly us. So make sure you share this. I'm going to see if there's any questions real quick, and then I'm going to take a I see we have. So a person can still use a passport, or how does that work? Great question. So yes. So when it comes to our jurisdiction, someone is still lawfully able to use their US passport. When it comes to traveling abroad, we do not issue passports because we want to make sure that when it comes to our people, they have protection if they are overseas. Our nation is growing. However, we have to be realistic in where we stand. So, getting our people to say, oh, you don't need a passport would leave them defenseless overseas, and that would just be reckless. That is not what we participate in. We participate in protecting our people. So, if someone needs to travel abroad, they do have to apply for a US passport. However, they can submit their travel documentation with their application. That way, they're properly documented when it comes to their Indigenous status, and you will get those back when you apply. And also when it comes to children, that is something that parents can also do, is making sure that their children have that information submitted, and then they will go ahead and update that properly. Whenever we're filling out applications, guys, or interacting with the other jurisdiction, make sure that you are noting your status correctly. We are Xi-Amaru Native American, so if you see Native American on there, that is what we select. And when it comes to our race, specifically, we do select other and we put Xi-Amaru, or you can put Aboriginal, but as of now, that's what is necessary. Okay. But I hope that makes sense, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. If there's anything else, guys, feel free to reach out. Our team would love to serve you. Thank you guys so much for your time. Make sure to share this to your social media. You never know who is looking for this information. But until next time, guys, have a good one.